All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. On behalf of Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center, I'd like to welcome you all to, I don't think I did this right, an evening with the Thursday Night Poets. My name is Jimmy Vega, and I am the Assistant Director of Beyond Baroque. I'd like to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Gabrielino tongue of peoples. We acknowledge the wrong done to these peoples through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent disposition of their land. For those who don't know, Beyond Baroque is Los Angeles's oldest literary institution, located in Venice, California, founded in 1968, first as an experimental literary magazine before reimagining itself and becoming the literary institute that we know it today. We are based out of the original Venice City Hall and support writers and help cultivate new writing through our extensive program of writing workshops, readings, and performances. We are currently offering a number of workshops online via Zoom, such as our free weekly Monday night fiction workshop facilitated by Raquel Baker, and our historic Wednesday night poetry workshop currently facilitated by Jose Hernandez Diaz. We also have an upcoming intensive in-person paid workshop slated for this Saturday titled Return, Review, Renew with Mike Sonskin, Mike the Poet. Aside from our workshops, we are excited to host a book launch of Carol Potter's What Happens Next is Anyone's Guess, happening this Saturday as well. And we're also excited to announce our upcoming opening exhibit, Telepathic Evanescence with Will Alexander and Byron Baker, with an opening reception in person on Friday, June 24th. For more information, please visit our website at beyondbaroque.org. And finally, we offer a number of memberships to Beyond Baroque for as little as $50. Purchasing a membership is an enormous help to us during the pandemic and helps us continue to offer free online and in-person programming, as well as our free weekly writing workshops. As many of you know, our memberships also provide a discount on our intensive workshops as well. A big special thanks and big love to all the writers and speakers with us here tonight. I'm really looking forward to this. And now, without further ado, let's give it up. Let's make some Zoom noise for our hosts this evening, Dr. Jerry K. Hepner and Brendan Constantine.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. We are so pleased to be with all of you tonight. I'm Jerry Hepner. I'm a speech language pathology professor from the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. Boy, in the fall of 2018, long before any of us knew the word COVID-19, Brendan Constantine traveled to Wisconsin to join us at our Chippewa Valley Aphasia camp. He met us along with fellow speech language pathologist Michael Beal from the Los Angeles area, and Brendan led the poetry workshops there, shared many of his own poems as our keynote presenter that weekend. Fast forward to the fall of 2020, and it was a different world. A guest speaker at one of our brain injury group meetings shared some of the poetry that he had written, and I just asked the question, would anybody be interested in exploring poetry? Several people said, yeah, we're totally interested in this. And I said, I know this guy who knows a guy who is a poet, who does these workshops, and kind of the rest was history. I reached out to Brendan and he said he was happy to lead a few sessions, and that was really it, right? We planned 2 or 3 sessions, and 20 some months later, here we are writing poetry and sharing poems almost every Thursday. I don't know if this experience is common for any of you, but sometimes you just walk through a door that you never anticipated. I know that's true for me when it comes to Thursday Night Poets and many of the poets in our group. It has been just a remarkable 20 months. I've had the privilege of watching people with brain injuries and aphasia and strokes, some of them with little interest in poetry to start with, move from just someone who was dabbling around in poetry to, card-carrying poets. I've seen these individuals kind of refurbish their identities. They used to be people with brain injuries and strokes, and now they are just flat out poets. A lot of them never would have predicted that. Tonight, we're going to share some readings from their first anthology of poems, and you see it up behind me. And Jimmy mentioned this. The book is called "I Don't Think We Did This Right," an expression that we hear all the time. That was, just a common theme as people would read things. I'm not sure that I did this right, and then we would just, Brendan and I would be prepared to just be knocked off of our chairs because the poetry that these individuals write is just stunning. And I think probably one of my favorite things about the book and about the poems in the book is how much it shows how far they've come. So along with poems from I Don't Think I Did This Right, poets will read some of their newer poems as well. And they have really transformed, and they started out fantastic. One of our poets that's going to read tonight, when I handed her stack of crispy new books out of the box when we got our first supply of the books, said, "I'm so thrilled to just be holding this book, and it means so much to me, and I can't even believe I'm holding this in my hand." But you know what? We've gone so far since then, and I feel like our best work is yet to come, and we're all continuing to learn, and that's just been so powerful for all of us associated with this group. So I just have to say I agree with her 100%. It's just been a remarkable journey for our poets, for me as a professor in speech language pathology, for our incredible students. Our students are just permanently bound to these poets. Every semester we have a new group of students that's involved with the group, but they've all made this lifelong connection to the poets. And I see, shout out to Emmy and Emily and Lily and probably others that I haven't seen yet that are out there in the audience, some amazing clinicians who and students that we want to give some love. They've been fantastic. And for myself, just an amazing experience to see the growth and the change in these individuals. And I'll let Brendan take the floor, but I'm sure he feels the same thing too.
Hey there, yeah. It's been an absolutely astounding journey. Imagine if, walking a room full of people that you didn't know. And instead of the usual pleasantries, everyone there introduced themselves to you by showing you their hearts, by inviting you to join them in expressing something urgent and truly intimate. That's what it was like to encounter this group almost 2 years ago. This group of writers was so ready for poetry. And it's worth mentioning, I mean, that the art of poetry consists in the use of language, not just to describe a feeling or describe the phenomenal world, but to actually embody it. That's challenging for any poet, no matter how seasoned on a good day. And despite incredible challenges such as trauma, paralysis, impaired memory, and aphasia, this group quickly distinguished themselves as up to the task. They've also completely overhauled my understanding of the art form on a profound level. And they're going to speak for themselves. I'll be dropping in comments and bragging about them throughout the evening. But we should probably get on with it, don't you think, Jerry?
Absolutely. I think we can hand over the reins to Sarah, who will introduce our first poet.
Hi, thank you. I have the honor of introducing our first poet for the night, and her name is Audrey Nelson. At the age of 18, 16 weeks into her freshman year of college, Audrey was in a car accident that left her with a plate in her forehead and a brain injury. She was told she would not go back to school, but 40 years later, she went back to school, and a couple of times actually, earning a graduate degree several years later. She has also owned a company that provided residential care for people with brain injuries, Reality Unlimited, LLC, for over 26 years. As an advocate, she led a support group for over 30 years and has been involved with the Brain Injury Alliance in various capacities. She is a mother of 3 adult children and has 1 granddaughter. Being a part of the Thursday Poets group has been one of the most exciting things she has done in the world of brain injury for many years. In one of our first poetry reading classes, Audrey shared a poem she will read in just a few moments. The poem shared a recent event in her life. We were all stunned, teary-eyed, and hooked on her eloquent ability to make us feel as if we were right there too, looking at the moon.
Thank you, Sarah. Our group began meeting shortly after my husband passed away rather unexpectedly. And one of our first assignments was to write about something in nature. This is about experiencing the moon without my husband. It's called Can You See the Moon? I saw the moon last night. My impulse to text, as I have so many times, can you see the moon? You know how I love the moon. We often drove to find a better view. I'm told my first words were, see moon? I know it's not a novel sight. For me, each time is like the first. Equally though, also an old friend. You have witnessed my joy. Last night I wondered how it looked to you, from the other side, from heaven's view. We used to say if we parted, it would always remind you of me. Can you see the moon? Another assignment was to write about a piece of art. And I just have to say, some of our assignments we go, what are we doing this about? But I have to tell you that it's been very encouraging, and Brendan has been very good at motivating us to write. I chose the painting by my daughter, Maria. It hangs in my living room. The title of the poem is called, How Did My Baby Girl Learn to Paint? From treasured pieces framed by the fridge to an amazing oil in a gilded frame, beginning scribbles in favorite colors, the crayons awkwardly held by tiny fingers, masterpieces. Primitive hearts, stick people family portraits, signed with dyslexic letters, masterpieces. Construction paper mosaics, classroom made puppets, tempera painted monsters and castles, masterpieces. Efforts to learn and copy the masters, the evolution of a gift, of a soul, masterpieces. Then a final assignment brought home, a fabulous oil painting demanding a gilded frame. The composition, simple and complex. A bird in a hand, safe from a fire. On reflection, I see the hand may not be saving the bird, but letting it go. A masterpiece. My third poem is about gratitude to all of the survivors of brain injury that lived before I had mine, and all of their family members, professionals, and caretakers that helped them survive, and whose experiences led to improvements in care and my surviving and thriving. The title is My Gettysburg. After speaking at a conference in Pennsylvania, 2 friends and I toured the sites of the area, ending up in Gettysburg. We had presented on empowerment of people with brain injuries, how to reclaim one's lost voice, to assess the barriers to living one's choices, ways to gain more freedom, to be heard. As I looked over the fields dappled with spots of white, each stone representing a soul who was part of the fight for freedom of people they would never know. Husbands, fathers, brothers, all sons, part of somebody's family. Each loss a huge tragedy to someone, an empty seat at many tables across the land. All because of a larger fight for freedom, for the right to be heard and to be known. They are our Gettysburg. Suddenly, I thought of all the people who had gone before me in my own fight for life, for choice, for freedom, to be heard. Before my own brain injury, others had been hurt like me. Doctors strive to save their lives, to return them to their place at the table. I thought of all the empty hospital beds draped in white that were used by many, many people before I was in mine. They are my Gettysburg. I imagined the many who languished in nursing homes, who had been part of the collective experience and education that led to new technology, new procedures that led to doctors saving my life so that I can speak for the many soldiers in this fight for freedom, for choice, to be heard. They are my Gettysburg. I felt the need to remember and honor the many soldiers who fought this fight and will not be known. To remember the many doctors, nurses, and therapists who believe that life is worth fighting for. Also, the families who surrounded them with love, even when the seat at the table remained empty. They are my Gettysburg. The fight is not over. There are some who want to pull the plug on progress. To judge us not by life, but what we would need or the resources we would consume. We will be someone else's Gettysburg. We need to remember the individuals whose lives we are the product of, their fight, their struggle. We must also value the lives to come, the medical miracles yet to happen, the voices yet to be heard. We will be somebody's Gettysburg. Keep up the fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Audrey. It has been my privilege to get to work with you and to discover your work. One way to know whether or not you're suited to an art form is to see how you react when you discover how much there is to learn. And if the sheer tonnage of poetic history only excites you, you may have just come home. As Professor Hepner mentioned, the title of this collection is taken from our weekly discussions. I know there are other poetry teachers with us this evening, and I'm sure you'll agree that whenever you hear a student say, "I don't think I did this right," it usually means they're about to have a breakthrough, that they're about to do something truly amazing, and it's become our favorite thing to hear. This willingness to learn, to take huge risks, to put everything on the line, so to speak, for poetry is personified for me by our next reader. Catherine Paulson lives in a small town in northwestern Wisconsin. She worked as a respiratory therapist for like 19 years prior to a serious brain injury. In December of 2016, she fell, sustaining a skull fracture, a subarachnoid bleed, and nerve damage. Any path to recovery was exactly as fraught as you might imagine. But that's the miracle of this group. She has not stopped writing since our sessions began in November of 2020. In that time, her work has not only grown leaps and bounds, but she's been brave enough to start sending it out to professional journals. And what do you know? She's had work appear in Rattle, TBI Hope and Inspiration, Volume 1, and our illustrious chapbook, I Don't Think I Did This Right. A few weeks into joining the what we were calling the Third Thursday group, because we were only meeting every third Thursday, is now the Thursday Night Poets. Catherine shared that she was really enjoying the poetry classes and the opportunity to connect and build community. But she said, maybe I only want to write poetry on poetry nights. Otherwise, maybe it's going to feel like a burden, like something that I've got to do. Well, fast forward only a few weeks, and Katie was writing all the time, submitting poems for publication, co-facilitating the classes when I was out of town. Since hearing her poems such as Rock, Coal Smoke, and Empty Bottles, just to name a few, we've all become addicted to the work of Catherine Paulson, and you're about to fall under her spell. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Catherine Paulson.
Thank you, Brendan. Good evening. Thank you for joining the Thursday Night Poets. My first poem is one of my earlier pieces. It can be found in our book. I called it Rock. Rock, rock, rock. Placed in the sun-drenched corner, not only in the room, but in my memories. Smooth, varnished, and honey-colored, curved bands naturally finding your center of gravity. Gray-haired grandmother and grandfather, seesawing slow enough, the cat's tail is safe. Beat up gold upholstery tacks, some loose over the years, embellish the seat and backrest, marrying wood and fabric together. Creak, creak, rasp of the wood against the level floor, the sound of 100 years of use. Passed on to me in death, the mere sight of it brings me back to my childhood, waiting to create new reminders. The armrests projecting, holding and supporting, limbs and daydreams. The faded green and washed out white cushions spring up and down, protecting against the shock of the world. My next poem is meant to show some of my quirky side. It's called My Butter Won't Fly. My sun won't rise, my moon used to light. My page won't turn, my fish is gray, not gold. My dishes no longer wash themselves, my butter won't fly. My damsel is definitely in distress. My whistle won't blow, my fly refuses to swat. My corn falls right off the cob. My frog won't leap or even catch bugs. Why won't my butterfly? My book won't mark anymore. My stack doesn't smoke. My pool no longer whirls. My school isn't high or middle. It's barely elementary. My life is in pieces, yet I hold on. I'm cracked, but I am not broken. My third poem is written in concrete form. It's called Macro. I frame everything, literally holding it in the square I make with my pointer fingers and thumbs. I capture the world as I see it, a backward attempt at rationality in a world dripping with insanity. My thoughts, amble as they may, shift and shuffle through the glossed over and disregarded. Focus on a single aspect, one tiny detail, unseen by others. Macro vision. Before I read my last poem, I just want to thank everyone for their attention. This whole process has been a dream that has both healed me and knocked me right off my feet. I could have never imagined publishing a book, being published in Rattle, or performing readings for audiences across the world. My brain injury is a part of me, but I've learned through this experience with Brendan and Jerry that it doesn't define me. My final poem for the evening is one of my newer poems. I call it Empty Bottles. I lost a dinosaur painting, a lemon-shaped piñata, a piece of the World Trade Center. I lost the lid to my favorite Tupperware. I also lost my sister's headstone. It's already been engraved. I lost my first love, but found my last love. I lost my innocence, a home, a high-stress job, and gold glittery hoop earrings. I found out that stepping on a crack really won't break mama's back. I lost a backpack filled with bundt cake and macaroni, a single lonely mitten, an empty bottle. When I was 10, I found a $20 bill on the way to the county fair. I thought I was rich. I lost my dog. Actually, my parents lost my dog. The police were called. Dad rode the streets on his yellow bicycle to find her. I lost a bottle of aspirin, but found it in the refrigerator. I lost a gallon of milk, but found it in the kitchen cupboard. I lost a camera filled with once in a lifetime pictures and golf balls, many golf balls. I lost friends, the ones I thought would be there for me. I found too much darkness, too much light, too much of too much. I lost my concentration, my memories, my chance to remember what I remember, and my chance to forget how. I lost my opinions. I lost my voice. I lost my will to live. And then there are the empty bottles, the keys, the puzzle pieces and words. I have lost so many words, but I've found so many more. I found poetry in that, an ability to create. I found sanity and resilience and a voice to express how I feel. I found ways to look at life in a different light. I found situations where I handle myself gracefully and situations I blow out of proportion. I found I will have days that I will lose it all again, except the stubbornness in me I never realized existed. I have found empty bottles and filled them with my stories.
Beautiful poems, Katie. So I have the pleasure to introduce the next poet, Sherry Nelson. Sherry is currently living in Western Wisconsin after years of traversing the country as a professional consultant. Prior to her brain injury, she was an attorney and certified public accountant. In 2010, she was competing in an equestrian event when a bear spooked her mule, who ran deep into the forest, where she hit her head against a tree branch, knocking her to the ground. She now enjoys the serenity of country living and exploring many interests, including gardening and poetry. Sherry is accompanied in life by her husband, daughter, service dog Spencer, and many cats and horses. In her past life, along with being an attorney and CPA, she was a technical writer and editor. Her conceptualization of poetry was a little tricky to reconcile given that background, but she persisted. In the first few months of class, she would often refer to herself as a lurker, which led to one of her first poems about learning poetry. As time has passed, she considers herself a reluctant poet, but has moved beyond her technical roots to the other side of writing. We're all glad that she is now a card-carrying poet like the rest of us.
Oops. Unmute, Sherry.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you, Alana. Hi, everyone. As a result of my traumatic brain injury, I lost most of the use of my right arm, hand, and fingers. My first poem tonight details the experience of suddenly becoming left-handed. My hands remember how they once operated in tandem. They worked side by side, right hand dominant, left hand never far behind. Off they journeyed every morning, school, then work, finally play. Always together, on sunny days, on dreary days, without fail. Unlimited prowess at the keyboard, speed and accuracy absolute. Together they zipped along the keys, polishing off each document, page by page. Boom, one big hit. Right hand useless, left hand always ahead. Now they are one. The right hand gets its thrills now from watching, always watching. I plan on living until I reach the golden age of 100. I am also a committed vegetarian. My next poem reflects these beliefs and is titled Dinosaur. And I think you can see it on the screen. At least it was up briefly. Is it coming back?
Chew dinosaur. Where's that dinosaur? There it is.
Dinosaur. I'm old, very, very old. Some say that I'm older than dirt. I like to roar loudly just to make a point to nearby nemesis. Chuckling with mirth, I am astray with gaiety. Untamed fear consumes you, for I am the biggest thing to come along since creation. Footsteps send the earth shuddering with every movement as I wander forth as the uncontested star of the jungle. My teeth are peg-like and made for raking, adept for eating from the top of trees or raking everything in sight from the ground. Lucky for you, I am a dedicated vegetarian. So please relax and recover your sense of safety. Herbivorous in nature, I find plants are made for more than mere survival. I thrive on them. These are the terms of our existence. You can look at me in peace, for today I will not eat you. Before joining the Thursday Night Poets, the only poems I knew were nursery rhymes. A stark realization came to me later. Musicality was present in every poem, from rhythmic patterns to the capture of experiences, emotions, and images. Every song was a poem. Most poetry made little sense to me until I realized that poets do not write to be understood by others. They write to express themselves. Many hours are still spent watching and observing other poets with little participation. The takeaway is a single one-line poem that perfectly describes my journey. Learning. Lurkety, lurkety, lurk, 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 exclamation point. Many, many years ago, I was struggling to live and finish my time at the university. I bought my first home 8 miles out of town with no close neighbors. It had been vacant for several years, but absolutely nothing had been changed. Everything was still there. Even the refrigerator was running. My final poem tonight is titled Route 7, Box 203. Route 7, Box 203. It started as a stagecoach stop deep in the countryside, now a homestead on Maple Road, immersed in the heart of Pleasant Valley. 5 bedrooms up and down, beautiful wood trim, wallpaper delight. Doors everywhere, 7 in the dining room alone. No heat, no plumbing. A staid relic from a far-flung time with a storied tradition, one nearly as old as the surrounding forest. The walls bloom with delicate blossoms. Floral essence brings life into the home, a rush of hopeful charm. No person has lived here in years. 3 generations have come and gone. Everything is still the same. Now I am here. Am I alone? Something is upstairs. Gentle movement can be heard. A lingering presence is nearby. At first, I don't know you. I only feel you. Are you a friend of this house? Will you give me your name? Bright new sunshine cascades through the air each day. Your purple lilacs and irises fill the yard with a beauty so rare. The dancing northern lights playfully interrupt the dead of night. Your presence has become a daily comfort. Love fills my every step as I watch for you. Suddenly, there you are, silently watching out the upstairs window under the gable. A fine lady, very interested but peaceful, standing serenely at the window, unforeboding. Then you calmly move away and disappear. Any fearfulness has long left me. I must go now. Someday I will join you again, forever in this house, in these gardens. We will share this peaceful haven. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Our next poet is Rochelle Anderson. Rochelle lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and worked as a lawyer for many years. A few years ago, she experienced a stroke which caused aphasia, a language disorder that makes it hard to express your thoughts verbally and through writing. She did not let that stop her from being an avid poet, who is a part of the Thursday Night Poets and other poetry groups for people with aphasia. She enjoys the changing seasons of Minnesota, canoeing, and her dog Ziggy. Rochelle and her husband Dave particularly love Duluth, Minnesota, and the North Shore of Lake Superior. Rochelle's aphasia makes it difficult for her to write and then read her poetry. As a result, she composes to dictation and has her own personal poetry reader, Dave. Dave has become a part of our extended poetry family as well, so we're always thrilled when there's a new poem to be read. As you'll see, her poetry has an engaging cadence and eloquent multi-sense metaphors. She takes us on journeys to the North Shore and stories that span her lifetime. Now it's time to enjoy a little soul-healing chocolate with Rochelle and Dave.
Excuse me. My first poem is about my ring. My ring was first my mom, and now it's mine. Talks a little bit of problems with moms and daughters. And towards the end, it talks that my mom and I have another journey. This is part of the chat book.
The ring. My mom's wedding ring. Shiny gold, bright diamonds, sharp cut edges. See it in light, spangled and sparkled, glistening and shimmering. Never really liked ring. Mom wanted me to wear it. Now I do. I feel cursed. Dungeon, ball and chain. Moms and daughters are a war zone, waiting to fire opening salvo. Smell gunpowder. Hear the booming. White flag is on the horizon. Ring on finger, glowing sun with twinkling stars surround. Me, the next generation, thinking of mom each day. My mom has macular degeneration. What is that? I have aphasia, another problem people don't understand. Disabilities, mom and I, tied together by the ring. Ignored by others, servants in a mansion, living in a parallel universe, unable to connect the dots. Past, present, and future, embodied in one ring.
My second poet, it's about colors. Crayons, painting, and when I almost died, but I didn't die.
This poem is titled Colors. Crayola, Fresh new box of 64 crayons. Crayon sharpener, waxy smell, draw and color. Orange, jack-o'-lanterns, fall leaves, basketball. Purple, Harold and the Purple Crayon, eggplant, Vikings. Yellow, school bus, bananas, Cheerios, tennis ball, crayons. Paint, eggshell, semi-gloss, flat, satin. My whole body covered in aquamarine paint, elbows, fingers, hair. Hardware store, many, many colors, paint swatches, hues, accents, entire spectrum on the palette. Forest green, light purple thistle, lemon yellow, cachet cream, pigments. Stroke, blood caught in my calf, dark purple and spidery. Through heart, pulsing and brick red, brain turned from healthy salmon pink to pitch black. Cut out piece of my ivory white skull, bone flap, midnight blue, goldenrod scars to cover up hole, survived.
My third poem is called The Body, My Soul. It's talking about how in my one side of my body is fine and one side is broken.
My body, my soul. The moon waxing and waning, right side, left side discordant. Right skull, a clear, snow-capped mountain. Other side, an old dented pickup. Right brain, the bright yellow sun high above. Left, crushed, ruined, defeated. Right eye sees the fantastic world. Other eye, just nothingness and wasteland. Right ear hears the sounds of laughter and singing. Left, a conflagration. Left arm, alive and free, raised high. Right arm, dark and dreary, flaccid. Left, an open hand, welcoming good things. Lifeless hand, the star extinguished. Left leg, a grizzly bear. Other, a starving, withered lion. Left toes show the way up, down and through. Right sleeps forever. My body is a dream, always changing. Hoping for victory, feeling proud.
My fourth poem is about poetry and chocolate. This poem is about aphasia. A lot of people don't know what aphasia is, and after this poem, you might know a little bit more about it.
Chocolate. My face is a broken mirror, misplaced features unable to use, brain frozen in place. Stroke jarred my mind to a halt. Language is world's communication. I am stuck deep in a hole, trying to climb out. Life is a game. I do not know the rules and cannot find the way to the finish. Aphasia is playing American football in Australia, no scoring possible. On the red planet, no rocket to get home. Stuck on a slippery hill, sliding backwards, looking for my goal. Backwards and forwards. Therapy is the revving engine, the powerful force, speeding towards composing new thoughts. Metaphors are 2,000 puzzle pieces, trying to complete the match. Poetry's chocolate, sweet, dark, dreamy, soothing, and calming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rochelle and Dave. That was fantastic. It is my privilege to introduce our next poet, Naomi Bitter. Naomi Bitter was a teacher of special education before her stroke. She hails from the Madison, Wisconsin area. Like Rochelle, her stroke caused aphasia, making it difficult to speak and write. She started writing poetry several years ago to improve her ability to write and to express how she was feeling. Recently, she found the Thursday Night Poets, joining our growing ranks. She loves to go camping, walking in the woods, reading and sewing. I first experienced Naomi's poetry in 2010 at the Chippewa Valley Aphasia Camp, a camp for adults with aphasia and their partners. Fast forward 12 years, and she connected with our virtual group on Zoom. As the newest Thursday night poet, she's already building a strong repertoire of new poems, and we're excited to see her love for poetry rekindled. Go ahead, Naomi.
Thank you, Jerry. My mother had Alzheimer's. It was the hardest thing I ever did, was to see her fade away. This poem was written out of frustration. Old chainsaw, you chop down my memories. You don't let me remember important dates or events. You cut through my independence and make me dependent on others. You cut away the seasons and the passage of time. You even cut down my ability to plan and my interaction with those I love. Soon you will take away all my memories, but old chainsaw, you will not get my soul. I was looking at a picture that didn't make any sense to me. All I saw was chaos, but it reminded me of my stroke. Without warning, life explodes, sending everything you value into the darkness. You search the ebony, trying to find yourself or anything that has meaning. It won't come easily as it did before, but you have to wait, listen, look, keep trying. Without warning, you're caught in a whirlwind. The confusing, impulsive winds bring back colors, textures, shapes, meaning. They will surround you and they will give you new life. A stroke takes away everything. You're not what you used to be, but it teaches you patience, which is what I was never very good at. It's my new normal. I wish I could be back to normal, where I could read anything and understand deeply. Write a letter or beautiful poetry. Talk smoothly without thinking about it. Figure out math in my head. Remember things like events or where I put my keys. My new normal teaches me patience. I can read and understand deeply. It just takes time. Write a letter or beautiful poetry. It just takes practice. Talk smoothly, but I have to think about what the words are going to be. Figure out math in my head, but check it with a calculator. Remember things if I write them down and keep organized. Be patient. This is a new gift from God. I'll end this with the story of the willow tree. It used to frustrate me that I had to clean up all the leaves and branches. But it was wonderful to sit in shade and relax. Willow tree. Why do your branches litter the ground? You're a majestical tree. Your beauty is something to be admired. But why do your branches litter the ground? Do you remember all the picnics we had under your branches? The laughter and loving that you gave us? Do you remember the lawn chair under those branches where we would read be reading for hours on end. What did you say, old willow tree? You remember the picnics that called the ants and me reading wonderful stories in your shade? And just like people, even majestic old trees like you have to renew old branches. Thank you very much for listening.
Way to go, Naomi. Thank you so much for that. That was lovely. This has already been an amazing evening, and we still have more poets to come. Although at this point, I should probably say something about how to get your own copy of our book. I don't think I did this right. There are a few ways, and I'm going to put some information back in the chat. First, you can go to Venmo if you like and visit @ThursdayNightPoets and send $10 for the book and $4 for shipping. You can also email the group directly thursdaypoets@gmail.com and just say you'd like to get a copy of the book. And I'll also include in the chat the link to their webpage. There is true variety in this collection, although we've sort of epigraphed this event with themes of trauma and recovery. You should know that this collection doesn't just have one note in exactly the same way that none of these poets are defined by any single challenge or constraint. The work here explores a variety of styles and motivations. And that's because, you know, we discovered right away that the best poetry workshops, really the best workshops for any art form, are those that are more like laboratories, where the results aren't predetermined. You know, this group wasn't interested in connecting dots and trying some exercise that would produce identical results for everybody. We were conducting real experiments. We were taking risks and trying out new things to see where they would lead. There's no fake work in here. There's wisdom in this book. There's laughter. There's a great deal of comfort. In fact, our next poet composed an exquisite lullaby, which is in this collection, and which I think she might be reading for us. Lisa Monopoly is an East Coast poet who loves and lives the Midwest lifestyle of Wisconsin. Her time with the Thursday Night Poets actually represents a return to poetry. 30 years ago, at the time of her initial brain injury, poetry was one of her medicines. It was one of the first places that she went to for solace. Her career as a poet, which she says is at its very beginning, is allowing her to process her life and her ongoing recovery from brain injury. A chief influence is Jesus Christ. She also enjoys cooking and theater. She is a brain injury warrior and advocate. At the outset of our poetry group, she, I think, was sort of looking to the models in poetry that she'd grown up with, and also the kind of poetry that she'd first gone to, as I said, right after her injury. So she was looking mostly at rhyming poems and was working within that model. And her rhyming poems were beautiful and fantastic, and she continues to, you know, maintain a sort of lyrical thread through the work. But it's also been really cool to watch her sort of, you know, push those boundaries for 19 months now, and really experiment and try all kinds of things. So I'm not 100% sure everything we're going to hear this evening, from poems such as "Oh Sweet Child" to "Unwanted Visits." What she does do consistently is capture hearts. And she has demonstrated for me and for everyone else what poetry represents. You know, the most common mistake made about an artist is that they're doing what they're doing because it's pretty or entertaining. But if you ask the artist, they're actually working something out. They're making sense of something. There's something quite urgent happening in Lisa's work. And we're all honored to walk with her on this journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lisa Monopoly.
Greetings, everyone. I'm truly humbled to be sharing my poetry with you. I can honestly say that dreams really do come true. My first 3 poems are new, and they will give you a taste of what's to come in future chapbooks. And my last book, as Brendan had said, is in this chapbook. My first poem was inspired by a word prompt given by Brendan. I'd give anything. I'd give anything to let you touch me without fear, to pull down all my emotional walls I diligently built after past traumas. Walls built to keep myself free from the darkness I discovered in others. To get naked with you before we take off our clothes. I'd give anything to let go and embrace our true passion. For my body quivers when we touch. My lips ache to taste yours. Your kisses taste so sweet. Oh, how intoxicating they become to me. I'd give anything to stay enthralled in your arms, for your arms feel like home, a small pinch of heaven, with safety and warmth. Oh, how safety feels warm. I'm longing to show you all of me, my beauty, my scars, my heart, how it beats when I am with you. To share our past journeys, plan anew of an us together. I'd give anything to not fear loving you, to trust you openly and completely, not make you earn trust you haven't broken, allowing you in. I'd give anything to lay my head upon your chest each night, elated, listening to your heartbeat, feeling the awakening of your sensual touches, giving in to a passion of us as we unite, becoming one. My second poem was inspired by an assignment given to us. And it was to have an understanding with an animal. And it's called An Unwanted Visit. I love the smell of baby oil on my skin as the warmth of the sun swaddles me like a blanket, listening to the sound of the rolling waves swishing against the shore. I sat up hungry from my lazy morning of bronzing my skin. I turn around, reaching to open the cooler, grabbing a BLT I had made and packed earlier. I turn back around to see a visitor creeping ever so closely toward me, staring as I unwrapped my lunch. Waving my arm, I shoo the unwanted visit. He backs up, watching me from afar, knowing I have not welcomed his presence. He begins screeching as if I owe him some kind of ransom for taking up space on his personal beach. I shoo him yet once again. Begrudgingly, he steps back, pacing unsettlingly. He begins kicking up the sand with his scrawny legs and flapping his wings at me. I look up at him and he looks at me. A small part of me took pity upon the impatient sea rat. I truly was still annoyed by his presence. I believe he understood he was wreaking havoc upon my peace. I threw the seagull a piece of my sandwich to be rid of him, only to be flooded by his friends as he flew off unwillingly to share. My third poem is a poem that I wrote trying to explain what it's like to have aphasia and have a brain injury, and kind of put it in maybe so in a way that people could understand. And this poem is called Word Dance. My words once elegant, graceful like a ballet, on time, in sync, as if I were ballroom dancing. I could waltz, foxtrot, or quick step as I spoke. I smiled as I rumbled or tangled my way through communication. Now I fumble, often afraid to speak. For my tap shoes no longer make a sound. My cha-cha-cha is more like blah, blah, blah. My swing dance doesn't work all by myself. I decided to folk dance to speak a language block. With rigid rules and limitations to the communication dance, I found myself speaking as if I were a modern dance. My last poem is my lullaby, and this you will find in the book. It's one of my favorites. When we got the assignment to write the lullaby, it just kind of came pouring out onto the page what I felt about my children and grandchildren, and just memories that I have that are deep inside and will always stay with me. Oh, sweet child. Oh, sweet child, lay your head upon my chest. The day has passed. It's time to rest. Let us thank our loving Lord, giving him our worries as we pray. Tell me, little one, what was your favorite thing about today? Did you enjoy us laughing and dancing in the living room, hopping on one foot, or a magical ride on the kitchen broom? We blew bubbles to catch, counting 1, 2, 3. We found acorns, watched birds, caught caterpillars, singing A, B, C. Oh, sweet child, lay your head upon my chest. The day has passed. It's time to rest. Let us think about the angels above as they circle you with protection and love. Your eyes are heavy as you drift off and dream. Go to where the flowers bloom and the grass is green. Can you hear the trickling of the stream? Dream, sweet child, dream. Oh, sweet child, lay your head upon my chest. The day has passed. It's time to rest. At the stream, stretch out your body. Lay your head in a bed of grass. Before you know it, this night will pass. Watch the skylight fade into the night. Stars so magical, like sparklers giving off light. Can you smell the freshness in the crisp night air? In the woods travel the fox, raccoon, and deer. Oh, sweet child, lay your head upon my chest. The day has passed. It's time to rest. May you stay healthy, sweet, and kind. May something good each day you find. As you grow and leave my side, remember the secret I must confide. I will miss your daily hug. I will miss your daily kiss. Happiness for you, my child, I will always wish. Oh, sweet child, lay your head upon my chest. The day has passed. It's time to rest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Well, I want to take a moment and thank everyone for coming tonight. It has just been my absolute privilege to be a part of this amazing group of authors and poets. Just have so many good things to say about them, and glad that you could be here to see a little bit of what we see every Thursday night. Again, I want to thank Beyond Baroque for allowing us to be a part of this and spotlighting our work. We do have one more poet left, so don't you dare leave. I want to thank Beyond Baroque. I want to thank Brendan Constantine for his guidance and leadership. He's just an amazing teacher and so good at something that we say in speech language pathology, at acknowledging and revealing the competence of the poets. And we've just seen them blossom and grow. We've seen them, rebuild their identity, and we've seen their language and their communication improve as well. Those are hard things to measure. But
and as you said, I mean, they aren't stopping. I mean,
they're not stopping. Agreed. Yeah, continuing to just blow the doors off of what we can expect. So we never set any limits. So, anything you want to add, Brendan?
No, just that I had no idea. I knew, I had some idea, where things might go, but I didn't know that we'd be here. And, and as Lisa was saying that, there's already another book in the works, and, and I'm sure by the time that one gets out, everybody will look at it and go, oh, that's my old stuff. So, so here's to more. And we've got one more poet for you. Don't go anywhere.
One more, yes. So without further ado, it is really my privilege to introduce Douglas Campbell. Douglas is going to be joined by Amber Kirkwood, who is his care provider. I'm excited to introduce Douglas, and we'll spotlight Amber in a little bit as well. Thank you. Douglas Campbell lives in Portland, Oregon. He is a professor emeritus of art at George Fox University, where he taught painting, printmaking, drawing, and art history courses. He is also the author of Parables, Ironic and Grotesque from 2020, Tree Story from 2018, Turning Radius from 2017, Park Tales 2012, Facing the Light, The Art of Douglas Campbell 2012, and Seeing When Art and Faith Intersect 2002. His poetry and artworks have been published in numerous periodicals, including Harbinger Asylum and Off the Coast. His artwork is represented in collections such as the Portland Art Museum, Oregon State University, Ashforth Pacific Incorporated, and George Fox University. Some time ago, a faculty friend from Portland State University, Lynn Fox, and she's here tonight. So thank you for being here, Lynn. We're really glad to have you along with us. Reached out to me shortly after our first virtual / in-person / hybrid reading at the Goat Coffee House in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. She knew a young man from Oregon who would be the perfect fit for our group, if that was possible. Thank goodness for connections, because we've been so blessed to have Douglas and his care supporter, Amber, now a student actually in our online graduate program for speech language pathology. So woohoo, UW Eau Claire. They both joined our group, and Doug's past experience in art and poetry were immediately evident, from peaceful observations of seabirds on the beach to wrenching struggles against the aphasia that steals his words. We're all enthralled. And let me say, he wins most of those battles with the words and aphasia. He's amazing. Amber will be reading for Douglas. So thank you, Douglas and Amber.
Thank you. Hello, my name's Amber, and I have the privilege of reading Douglas Campbell's poetry this evening. On November 24th, 2012, Doug suffered a stroke that left him with hemiplegia on the right side of his body and a language disorder called aphasia. And Doug would like to share this message with everyone. In Doug's words, life has been a struggle since my stroke. I do not like my new normal. I have all the words in my brain, but they don't come out right. It's very frustrating. These are the things most people don't think about until abilities are taken away. It's difficult to work through the physical and mental pain, but re-engaging with my art and poetry has helped me stay positive. When I'm being creative, I find my voice again. Art, writing, and poetry are my language. The creative process helps my confidence and self-esteem and gives me a sense of accomplishment. So the first poem I'll be reading tonight from Doug is entitled Alphabet Soup. Alphabet Soup. Letters are burning in my soul because it's what they do. They mystify me over and over. They are there and then they're gone. What does A have to do with B or C or D or E or F? They burn in my brain because I can't remember them, and they keep on burning. I'm tired of it. I have the letters to make words. I think and think and think, but they come out jumbled, like pouring a can of alphabet soup. Doug's next poem is entitled Words and Birds. This is kind of a departure from Doug's normal stuff. This was fun for him to write. Words and birds. Robins forage for worms, like I forage for words. Hummingbirds live solitary lives, like my lone quest for poetic insight. Nuthatches meticulously glean for food, like my painstaking search for meaning. Stellar jays perch in the high canopy, like I climb the mountains for inspiration. Crows caw angrily, like the words in my head, fighting to get out. Doug's next poem is called Mourning Myself. Mourning myself. Words and sentences don't work. Right arm, right leg, don't work. Walk funny, use a cane, need a brace. Walk slowly, on the same paths. Not too difficult, not too rocky, not too steep, not too far. It's boring. Can't choose my own path. It's been chosen for me. Therapy, therapy, therapy. I want to climb a mountain, paddle a kayak, ski a slope, swim in the lake. I want to write poems on my own. No help. It's not the same anymore as thinking of words that come from my soul, my experiences, my former self. No writing letters to friends and family. One-handed tasks are difficult. No driving a car. I'm a passenger in my own life now, not in control of me, myself, or I. Independence diminished, sitting in a chair for hours, wishing to go somewhere, anywhere. Doug's final poem is entitled I'd Give Anything. I'd give anything for the sentences to come out right, words flowing seamlessly, but they don't. I'd give anything to walk by the sea, but it's cold outside and my leg doesn't work right. I'd give anything to read a paperback book, turning the crisp pages instead of listening to the robotic voice of a screen reader. I'd give anything to hike in the woods, but the terrain isn't hemiplegic friendly. I'd give anything to go skiing, feeling the rush of the snow around me as I navigate black diamond slopes. I'd give anything to summit a mountaintop, leaving slings, carabiners, and ropes in my wake, to look back at my route of great difficulty. I'd give anything, but in closing, Doug has this to say about Thursday night poets. Participating in Thursday night poetry group gets me thinking about my writing and art and how I can find new avenues to create. This group has given me the inspiration to experiment with my poetry and motivates me to write. I like the feeling of community and being in a group with others who have aphasia. It makes me feel less alone. So I just want to thank everyone for holding space and being present with all of us this evening.
Again, we really want to thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you so much to Jimmy for inviting us, for setting up this amazing forum to share the work of these amazing poets. Thank you for all of the poets who have spent just an enormous amount of time writing these works. It's been simply a privilege to walk alongside them in this journey. Appreciate all of your time tonight, and hope we can join you again.
Thank you, everyone. Before we close out, please, revel in the love in the chat. It was really wonderful to share space with you tonight. Thursday Night Poets, you are fantastic, amazing. Thank you. It's been a real privilege. Thank you so much.
It's also worth chiming in, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed this event and you're not already a member of Beyond Baroque, there are all kinds of events and all kinds of resources there. Please visit Beyond Baroque online.
Thanks, Brendan. And with that, please enjoy the rest of your nights, and we'll see you very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.